We just saw one of the most exhilarating rounds of Olympic hockey. We had last-minute comebacks and overtime magic all over the place, and it has set the stage for a pair of big-time hockey games going into Friday. So let's break down exactly how this all happened by diving into the storylines and tactics of each game of the quarterfinals. First off, we start with Slovakia versus Germany. Germany came into this game after beating France in the qualifier, so this is a back-to-back for them, while the Slovaks were waiting as the surprise country that made it into the quarters with the bye. One's got a dry settle, the other's got the reincarnation of Wayne Gretzky himself and Juraj Slafkovsky. So let's see what we get. Now, early on, what jumped out to me was Germany's aggressiveness on the half wall during the Slovaks breakout. Germany did get outshot pretty badly in the first 17-5, but they were giving the Slovaks trouble with how active their D were at jumping down the wall to cut off the breakout. It works extremely well when you have strong F3 support in the middle to cut off that bump pass if it gets through. The only issue is that the Germans couldn't materialize that pressure into a great chance. The other was how Slovakia contained Draisaitl early on in this game. It's apparent that Germany wanted to get in the puck as often as possible, almost to their detriment. They had a late 2-on-1. Tiffels here has an entire freeway of space to walk in. Draisaitl is completely covered. He still passes anyway. He was probably afraid Draisaitl will have him deported if he doesn't feed him. Slovaks did a good job of just being in Draisaitl's face early on, and it's their simple approach that gives them a 1-0 lead early. They go low to high, catch the Germans' coverage, sag into the slot. Point man has enough time to have dinner and a movie all alone up there with all that space. Good traffic in front, and it's 1-0 just like that, thanks to a Pavel Regenda tip. Now, the reason why I mentioned the Germans' aggressiveness on the wall is because Slovakia went to the drawing board in the intermission and said, "You reach, I teach." They take full advantage to pop off for 3 goals in the second, and on all 3, it's some variation of Slovakia using a soft chip by the initial pressure of Germany's D. You see it here on the first goal. They got a winger slashing above the F3 support. That turns into a goal. The second goal, the German D tries to stand up on the blue line, but Slovakia's winger makes a great heads-up play to dish and catches that same D flat-footed. That ends up being a B-way goal. Thanks for coming out. Germany calls a timeout to say, let's wake the hell up here and start thinking the game. That doesn't work because this is the next play. The Slovaks know Germans D are stepping up hard to a fault, and look at this gap. There's no F3 support. You got 2 Slovaks coming in at full speed. The German D says, screw it, I'm hanging in there. A little chip play burns him. 2-on-1 goal. Slovaks have a 4-1 lead by the end of the second, and that was way too big of a deficit for Germany to come back from. Slovakia scores another 2, including the empty netter, and they move on after a 6-2 dub in a pretty impressive performance. They played a really well-structured game. Slafkovsky only got an assist, but I've loved the Slovaks game so far in this tourney, especially Dalibor Dvorsky. He's been a standout so far in this tourney for them. As for Germany, I think this is where people probably thought that they would finish anyways. Leon Draisaitl's legs probably would have disintegrated if they moved on, so I'm sure Oilers fans are happy that Draisaitl gets a little bit of a break. Now, quickly, before we continue, today's video is sponsored by our good friends over at Saley. Now, there's one thing worse than being a Canucks fan this season. It's being a Rangers fan. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually being stuck on vacation without internet. We've all been there, but that is where Saley comes in. Saley is the eSIM app that gives you affordable, reliable data in over 200 destinations around the world. No more overpaying at airport kiosks or fumbling with physical SIM cards. You just download the app, pick a plan, and boom, you're connected instantly on a very affordable plan without having to worry about getting hit with roaming charges. I've used Saley on a few trips now. It's my go-to for staying connected while the season is going on and I'm away. It's come in clutch with keeping up with the weekly recaps. And so they are hooking us up with an exclusive 15% off discount on Saley data plans. If you're heading up Cancun early this season, like the Canucks themselves, make sure you use code HOCKEY at checkout when you download the Saley app, or you can go to saley.com/hockey, which is linked in our description down below so that you can make your trip worry-free while staying connected with Saley. Then we go on to Canada versus Czechia. These two faced off in the prelims, and it wasn't really close. Canada won 5-0, but the Czechs They got a way of upsetting Canada, especially as of late, so buckle up. Now, tactically, we talked about this a ton on our channel and in our last couple of videos, but Canada owned Czechia in the middle of the ice in game one. So the neutral zone would be huge in coming up with a win in this one, and we see it right away with the first 2 goals. Goal number 1, Connor McDavid is a man possessed. This is all him from start to finish. Run the slideshow, shall we? Good back pressure, creates a turnover at the blue line, and look at the spacing between him and this Czech player for the 50-50 puck. McDavid goes at the speed of light, so he pokes it up. Pastrnak ends up getting possession, but McDavid is all over him, creates a turnover, and then he's a magician. Perfect pass to Macklin Celebrini. The kid can't stop scoring. 1-0 Canada. That being said, Canada doesn't learn the lesson of the neutral zone because Mark Stone gets it at his own blue line, wants to go cross ice, and ends up setting a perfect pizza to Radko Gudas, who made a fantastic read, stepping up on this play. On top of that, it's a mess of a line change because they're delayed. No one picks up the high man where this puck eventually goes to, and then it's tied just like that, 1-1. All right, seed is planted, ladies and gentlemen, and the doubt grows, especially on the Czechia power play. David Pastrnak, we've seen it 1,000 times in the NHL. Left flank, right-handed shot, piss missile, has Jordan Binnington seeing ghosts 2-1, and here comes the Noives for Team Canada going into period 2 down by 1. Things then go from bad to worse. Sidney Crosby, Sid the middle-aged man, gets absolutely beaten up on this shift by Radko Gudas, lands awkwardly on his leg. Gudas is officially public enemy number 1 in Canada as Crosby has to leave the game and did not return. So not only is Canada down by 1, but they lose their captain. At this moment, the game could have gone one of 2 ways, but what came after was their best push. Michael Kempney with a total beer league moment, scrum in the corner. He says, screw it, I'm cross-checking McKinnon. Get in the box, pal. You can't do that. So the nuclear power play goes onto the ice. It goes from McDavid to McKinnon. Stutter step in. He gets a big one to tie the game, makes it 2-2 going into the third. It feels pretty much like next goal wins at this point. Both teams are playing it close to the chest, but with 7 minutes left, Thomas Harley has a chance to step right in. He fires it into the shin pads of a Czech player. What a block. Back the other way comes Marty the Slim Shady Natchez. It's a 3-on-2 with Pastrnak and Palat. He sends it over to Palat, who goes low blocker, and can you believe it? The Czech bench goes absolutely berserk because they are just minutes away from pulling off one of the biggest Olympic upsets we've ever seen. But before we move on from this goal, let's just rewind for a second and count how many Czechia players are on the ice here. There's 6 guys in the D zone. No wonder why they got an odd man rush. And the craziest part is that when they scored, all 6 guys were in the huddle. No one noticed. Not the refs, not the commentators, not Team Canada. No, everyone was just shocked that Czechia may actually pull this off. So now it is panic at the disco time for Canada. And coming into this game, many people had Nick Suzuki as the odd man out. He hasn't quite looked like himself not playing center, but he got the nod today over Sam Bennett. And after Sid went out, McKinnon got bumped up to the top line with McDavid and Celebrini, while Suzuki slotted back into the middle and immediately cooked. This is the very definition of poise to make a play. Suzuki gets this puck. The rest of his line is making a change in almost any other time. You're getting the red line here and dumping the puck in and going off for a change yourself. No, he opts to hang on. It's 1v4 here. He chips it in, goes and gets it himself, wins the puck battle to eventually funnel it to the point, and then it is just down to the fundamental kids. He goes to the net. Canada throws one on goal, and Nick Suzuki is today's Tippy Longstockings. What a tip. A shift for the ages, ties this game back up. Unbelievable. And this almost ended in regulation too, but for the Czechs, because Natchez got a breakaway, but Jordan Binnington, when the chips are down and on the line, he comes in clutch, gets a huge stop to force OT. The first one of this tournament where Binnington again comes up with a massive stop point blank. And then on the ice comes Macklin Celebrini and Mitch Marner. Now last year against Sweden in the Four Nations, they threw Sidney Crosby out there with Mitch Marner and they ran this little drop pass play where Crosby attacks forward to push the D back and then sends a drop pass to Marner to take advantage of that space on the entry. Last year when he did it, he ripped one home with a wrister. This year, they run again with Celebrini, this time in Sid's place. It's a similar look for Marner. He's forced to his backhand, and we get some magic. He just slimes his way through 3 checks. Don't touch me. Get off of me. He's falling down, and he goes backhand Billy Shelf for the game winner. He does it again. Mitch Marner, Canadian heritage moment, just like we all expected. Marner scoring a big goal with a maple leaf on his chest. Team Canada moves on, and it is heartbreak for Czechia, who put up a hell of a performance. Obviously, the big concern is the health of Sidney Crosby, and if he'll be done for the tournament, maybe not. But a couple of hero performances from Binnington, Suzuki, and Marner keep Canada alive to move on to the semifinals. Next up is Finland versus Switzerland, and if there's any underdog that a lot of people were choosing to upset, it was the Swiss. They've looked damn good in this tournament so far, and their forecheck gives the Finns a fit late in the first. On goal number 1, Saros comes out to play the puck, and the Swiss F1 just cuts her right off there. How about this image, eh? Caught with your pants down. This is probably the worst feeling as a goalie with the cage wide open. 9 is beaver tapping, drooling all over himself, waiting to one time at home. He does, and the Swiss take an early lead. Not even a minute later, the pressure gets to the Finns again, and it's another goal off the forecheck to go up 2-0. All of a sudden, we got the makings here for an upset, and really for the remainder of the game, there just wasn't a ton of space for either team in the middle of the ice or off the rush. Both teams are really good at limiting a volume of great chances. The more the time winds down, the more it just played right into what the Swiss wanted to do. But with 6 minutes left in the third, here's a perfect example of how important it is to stop any east-west play in this tournament. First, Finland goes vertical. One stretch pass beats a layer of Swiss forecheckers, and they're not in bad position here either, but the gap at the blue line is a bit too soft from the Swiss. And so now, as this Finn drives the middle of the ice, the seam east-west opens up. The D can't close the gap on Luosterainen fast enough. In comes Aho, the Dario on the far side. He rips it to make it 2-1. All right. All hands on deck. Pull the tendy and watch this series of unfortunate events for the Swiss. Off the face-off, Rupe hits his stick, snaps, so he has to go to the bench to get a new one. In the meantime, Mikko Rantanen is sitting in his rocking chair on the half wall, just waiting. I don't think in this moment the Swiss realize it's basically 5-on-5 here. No one in the zone is really pressuring, but then watch Hintz come down the chute. That draws this Swiss player to step up and contest the ice, but in return, it opens up the flank. Hintz with a slick Rick feed over to Heiskanen, who is wide open. He goes for the shot pass. It goes off the Swiss D stick. Siegenthaler and in. The Finns tie this up. The forced 3-on-3 OT, and this right here is where we see just how important possession and good line changes are in 3-on-3 overtime, because the Swiss have a bad one and they pay for it. They go for a change while Finland has possession. That split-second decision causes an opening, and it's Mr. Clutch himself, Arturi Lehkonen, who buries the winner. The Finns come all the way back and grind out an incredible win to move on to the semis. Final matchup of the day was USA versus Sweden. Two of the big heavyweights going at it. It's a damn shame one of them has to go home in the quarters, but the game is the game. And compared to what we saw earlier, things started slow. No one scored in the first. And in terms of how tight checking this was, it was very similar to the Switzerland and Finland game. But then we see Team USA get some of the looks that they want. Mike Johnson has said it on the broadcast, but Coach Mike Sullivan has some of the most in-depth face-off set plays in the entire league. And so we see it early on in the second as they run this face-off play with Jack Hughes. They win the draw, and Hughes is on the inside wing. He's going to swing up high, while the other wing in Tage Thompson cuts low. Now, because every team plays man-on-man on every face-off loss, the job of Thompson here is to come in under and set a pick on the winger attached to Hughes, who is the player that's supposed to be swinging high. He does it perfectly. Now the Swedish winger is late to flex out, and Hughes, as the high man, has an uncontested clap bomb that he can work with. Dylan Larkin gets the tip, and it's 1-0 USA. Now, when you look at the shots of this game and the quality of chances manufactured, the USA had the edge in every category, the biggest one being slot shots and inner slot shots. And the way the USA was able to generate these opportunities actually came from their movement around the perimeter and high in the zone. Because they have the best and most mobile D-core in this tournament with Quinn Hughes and Zach Werenski, you'll see them interchange frequently high in the zone with scissor roots or tiny seam passes to create defensive breakdowns. It's a really creative way to create high danger chances away from traffic. But because it's single elimination, if you don't pull away, anything can happen. And so down only by one, Sweden pulls the goalie, and Lucas Raymond turns into a sick puppy. He's coming down the right flank. No looker pass right to Mika Zibanejad. Bang. How are ya? Everybody loves Raymond except for the Americans right now. This is a tie game, and for the third time today, we're going to OT, and where we could see a potential upset. Now, I said in the preview video, Quinn Hughes not being on the Four Nations team last year was a huge difference maker, and then he shows firsthand just why that is. This is, again, another scissor route interchange with every U.S. player on the ice. It's pretty standard for 3-on-3 offensive generation, but it just goes to show how good the States are at executing it. Hughes goes mano-a-mano with Landeskog, gets the toe caps pointing the wrong way. That's the triangle just singing to him. How about posting in? Ding fries are done. The States win and avoid a scare of their own to move on after a wild day of Olympic hockey. So that means our matchups for the semis are set. Slovakia versus Team USA and Canada versus Team Finland. Crazy stat as well. These are the exact same remaining four nations that we had back at the 2010 Olympics. And if the games are anywhere close to what we saw in the quarters, we're going to get an unbelievable finish. So, what did you think of the quarterfinals? Who surprised you? Who pissed you off? Let us know in the comments down below. We're going to be breaking down the semifinal games and, of course, the finals in depth on this channel. So make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss a single thing for Olympic hockey.